So yeah, it's not easy. So this right here, we're talking about cells, chapter 12, and we did all these. We're talking about the parts of a eukaryotic cell. Do you remember eukaryotes are different than prokaryotes? Chloe, can you get the phone number? Oh wait, no, don't answer the phone number. That's Okay, so eukaryotic cells are a lot bigger. They're a lot more advanced than prokaryotic cells. The one we've been doing the parts of is a prokaryotic cell, but eukaryotic cells have more parts. You remember that? Colton, can you get the screen up here too?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He's got it.
Good deal. You got it. You're all over. So I hope you remember these parts. We talked about them last time. Let me just review them real quickly. The big yellow thing is the, can you say it?
Nucleus.
Nucleus. The nucleus holds the DNA, and in a eukaryotic cell, there's a membrane around the nucleus. You know what we call the membrane around the nucleus? Nuclear membrane. Do it, Austin. And that nuclear membrane has little holes in it called nuclear pores, and stuff can come out of those holes and go into the cell. So the nucleus is found in eukaryotic cells, but not in prokaryotic cells.
So things can go through the nuclear pores?
Yeah, stuff can get through the nuclear pores to get in and out of the nucleus. Yeah. Now, there's ribosomes in both the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. In the eukaryotic cells, a lot of the ribosomes are stuck to this thing. You know what that thing's called?
Rough endoplasmic reticulum.
Endoplasmic reticulum. Can you say endoplasmic reticulum?
Endoplasmic reticulum.
That's this stuff right here. It's kind of gooey, gloopy membrane that can hold stuff. The rough endoplasmic reticulum holds proteins that are made by the ribosomes. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum holds fats that are made by special enzymes in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So, rough endoplasmic reticulum proteins, smooth endoplasmic reticulum fats, and this thing right here is called the Golgi body. Can you say Golgi body?
Golgi body.
And the materials from the ER go to the Golgi body in vesicles. That's what these things are called, vesicles. Vesicles carry the materials to the Golgi, and the Golgi's like a factory. It can take stuff in one side and put it all together and kick it out the other side as a final product. So, smooth ER, a rough ER, smooth ER, Golgi, vesicles, nucleus, nuclear membrane, nuclear pore. You know what that is?
Nucleolus.
Nucleolus, and what does it hold?
It can make the ribosomes.
Holds RNA, and it makes ribosomes. That's right, ribosomes are made of RNA. Yeah.
And the nucleolus, or whatever pronunciation, holds the RNA?
Nucleolus holds the RNA, and the nucleus has DNA in it.
And the nucleolus is inside?
It is. It's a little compartment inside the nucleus. So if I had a little quiz on this right now, how would you do?
Well,
Let's not.
could do well.
It'd be interesting.
See if you can. Let's do it without looking at your notes, just looking up here on the screen.
Could you mind me to throw a quiz for you?
Could you name that? Nucleolus. Could you name this?
Nucleus.
Nucleus. Could you name the little holes? Nuclear pores. Could you name the membrane around there?
Nuclear membrane.
Nuclear membrane. So all of this is nucleus-related stuff. Could you name that? Rough ER or endoplasmic reticulum. And what does it do?
It holds
Makes proteins.
Makes proteins and holds proteins. Yeah. The ribosomes actually make the proteins. The rough ER holds the proteins. So you were right when you said holds proteins. What's this called?
Smooth ER.
Smooth ER. And what does it do?
Transports proteins.
Makes and holds lipids.
Oh,
Fats. Fats and lipids are the same thing. And then what are these things?
Transport vesicles.
Vesicles. And they transport stuff to this thing. And what's that thing called?
Golgi apparatus.
The Golgi apparatus. Yeah, it might give you a quiz and it might show you those, and you have to name what they are. Could
Do
you
we need
handle
to
it?
know the cis phase?
Wait, what's
No,
the
you don't even know.
Golgi apparatus doing?
The Golgi is like a factory. It takes materials in one side and puts them together and sends the final product
So
out the other side.
packages.
Oh, very nice. Packages proteins, packages fats, puts them all together. How y'all doing?
Good.
That was all what we did yesterday.
Wait, what package the ATP and
ATP,
yeah, what did that?
that's made by a new organelle that we're going to study today called
I have
the
a lot of
mitochondria.
My bad. Okay.
It's okay. You got a little ahead. But we're going to do that today. Did we do centrioles yesterday?
No, sir. Yes.
Centrioles are these special organelles that are for cell reproduction. They're to help cells multiply. And what they do is they shoot out fibers and it kind of splits the cell into when the cell's ready to multiply. Until the cell's going to multiply, they really don't do anything. So they just kind of sit there. Someone in the other class said they look like churros.
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
They look a little like
I want a
churros.
churro right now.
Yeah, now
Yeah,
I
me
really want
too.
a churro.
Me too. So anyway, that's what the centrioles look like, little churros, and they help the cell multiply.
Was there video footage? Oh, there is.
I don't know what this is. Oh wait, this is something really long. We aren't doing that. Okay. You need to know these organelles. They're called mitochondria. Can you say mitochondria?
Mitochondria.
They're energy organelles. And what they do is they put together ATP. They put it together from ADP and P. ADP and P can be put together to make ATP. ATP. So when I'm saying ATP, I'm talking about ATP stands for Adenosine Triphosphate. You know why they call it triphosphate?
3.
It has 3 phosphates. And when you tear it apart, it's no longer ATP, it's ADP and P. ADP and P can come together to make ATP. That's what the mitochondria does all day. It takes ADP and P and it puts them together to make ATP. Yeah.
Is that adenosine diphosphate?
It is adenosine diphosphate.
Wow.
Very nice.
Added by Britain.
When I was grading AP exams up in the summer, I do it for a job. I had a kid and he was writing about ATP. ATP. Like an Indian teepee?
Did he actually write that?
Yeah, he was writing all about teepees and there were little Indians inside the cell and they were fighting. He was a little bit lost. Anyway, he didn't get any points for it, but it was funny. So that's what the mitochondria looks like. We're going to learn all about the mitochondria in a couple of chapters. It's a real important organelle making that ATP. Because that's how energy is used in the cell. You know, these ATPs can float around the cell everywhere and cause things to happen. Do you remember the motor molecule we talked about yesterday?
Heck yeah.
If an ATP hits the leg of a motor molecule, it's torn apart into ADP and P, and energy is released, and the leg moves. And then another one comes in and hits the other leg, it's torn apart, and energy is released, and that leg moves. And if you could imagine a whole bunch of them, it would be moving fast. And so you got these vesicles moving all around the cell, because there's a lot of ATP in the cell. Guess what? If there were no mitochondrions, no ATP in the cell. And guess what happens if there's no ATP in the cell? The cell dies. The cell can't do anything. It can't repair itself, and the cells just fall apart. Yes?
Does the mitochondria bring in ADP and P by active transport, or is it?
It actually brings them in by diffusion. ADP and P will build up in cells in high amounts, and they'll diffuse right into the mitochondria. And then the mitochondria will put those together, and then these will diffuse out once the mitochondria makes enough of them. Isn't that cool? Ah, You want an essay? Is that where you're coming in, sir? There you go. Well. We go with mitochondria?
We're back.
Energy organelles? Chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are another organelle that you only find in plant cells. I always remembered chloroplast, plast, plant. I don't know why I remembered it that way. I just did. But a chloroplast is a green organelle that's found in a plant cell that can do photosynthesis. You know what photosynthesis is?
How plants make energy.
How plants make food, not make energy, how they make food. They actually trap energy from the sun to build food. Did you eat food today at lunch?
Maybe.
It came from plants. Plants built that food for you. Plants use the energy from the sun, and they use water. You got to water your plants. And they use carbon dioxide from the air. And from those three things, water, carbon dioxide, and light, they can build food. Glucose, sugar. And when you eat billions of molecules of this. And it gets all in your body, and you break those molecules down and get the energy out of it. The plants put the energy into it in the first place. Then you eat it and you break it apart and get the energy out of it.
So you break the energy out of the plants?
The energy out of the molecules that the plants made. You can eat the whole plant and you'll get a lot of its molecules, a lot of these energy molecules. So, plants don't have to eat. Plants make their own food with this organelle, the chloroplast. We spend a whole couple of days talking about how this thing makes food. Is that going to be an exciting couple of days for you?
I'm excited.
The chloroplast. It's got all these parts in it that are labeled here, but you don't have to know all these parts yet. You'll have to know them later. We'll study these parts later. For now, you just know that it traps the sun energy to make food. If you write down on your thing that it makes energy, that's wrong. It doesn't make energy, it makes food. It uses energy from the sun to make food.
Does it also use ATP?
ATP is involved in the process, but no, it doesn't use up ATP that it's getting from somewhere else. It actually makes some ATP and then breaks it apart to make the food. It'll put ATP together and break it apart in the process of making the food. So ATP is used. So those are kind of like energy organelles that you find in the cell, mitochondria and chloroplasts. And oh, go ahead.
So you have chloroplasts and mitochondria.
Animal cells have mitochondrions only. Plant cells have both chloroplasts and mitochondrions. Plant cells have them both. Chloroplasts to make the food, and then mitochondria to break the food down and make ATP. You have to have mitochondria. All the cells have mitochondria. Every cell does, except for prokaryotic cells.
Where do they get their food from?
Well, they absorb their food, but they don't need mitochondrions to break down the food to make energy. They use an anaerobic process that doesn't use oxygen to make their energy. So they don't use the mitochondrions. Mitochondrions, when a prokaryotic cell burns food, they don't fully burn it up. When a mitochondrion burns food, it burns it up fully. So it's a more efficient process if you have a mitochondrion. But it can be done without mitochondria. We're going to talk about that in a couple of chapters too. Oh, so this is showing some of the cytoskeleton. This is called a microtubule. Can you say microtubule?
Microtubule.
This is like a little train tracks that are in the cell. I showed you these earlier. Let me go back a little bit. Remember the vesicle slid along the microtubule? Don't remember that? These microtubules are part of what we call the cytoskeleton. If you look at a cell, there's all these little microtubules, microfilaments going everywhere. and so that vesicles can move on them. We call that the cytoskeleton, and the microtubules are part of it. The cytoskeleton is made of protein, and it goes all over the cell, and it gives the cell strength, and it allows for transport all over the cell. I want to show you. Do you remember this video? This is one of my favorite ones.
Motor proteins cause movements of vesicles, organelles, and the cytoskeleton. Kinesin is a motor protein that moves vesicles and organelles toward the plus ends of microtubules.
I was doing it like it was.
Pretty good representation.
So it strengthens cells and allows movement of molecules.
That's exactly what the cytoskeleton does. Now, the last thing you need to understand is what's called endosymbiosis. Can you say endosymbiosis? Endosymbiosis is the idea that it describes how these complicated cells came about. And they came about by living with one another. These cells live together. This cell right here, an ancestral host cell, which means an early cell, brought in mitochondrions, brought in chloroplasts, and became the modern cell that we have today. Mitochondrions and chloroplasts used to be free-living organisms, living on their own, little bacteria that lived on their own, and they were brought into a cell, and now they live only inside cells. And so they were once free-living organisms. So this idea, we call it endosymbiosis. It means living together. And this cell and that cell and that cell now live together as a single cell.
What did the mitochondria do when they weren't in the cell?
They lived on their own, but they didn't live on their own as easily. They weren't as well protected, and they had trouble doing some things. So they found when they got inside cells that it was easier to live.
What was their purpose then?
The purpose is just to live. They just wanted to live just like every other living thing, trying to survive. And it found that it could survive more easily in here, so it stayed in cells, and it has now lost the ability to live alone. They cannot live on their own. They can only live inside other cells. We know that this is true because they have their own DNA. And they make their own proteins, and they even multiply and divide just like cells do. They can divide themselves. And chloroplasts have their own DNA too. So all these were once free living on their own, and now they all live together in this more complicated cell that we call a eukaryotic cell.
So the cell basically went grocery shopping and picked up what it needed?
Picked up some other cells, and
Wait, those
now
are
it's chloroplasts. Those are the ones. So this would be a plant cell because it has chloroplasts and mitochondria. An animal cell doesn't have the chloroplasts. Yes, question.
Is that after Lynn Margulis that Endosymbiosis things, or is it just?
No, that's. I think that's who made the picture. I don't know why it's after though. I've heard her name before. Let's see what this is.
Oh,
It's an unhappy face. Sorry. Okay, so let me show you. You want to see how, now all these pictures I've been showing you are just kind of how the cell looks for an artist. But let me show you a better artist drawing of the cell. You're going to love this.
Did you go to the Galapagos?
Yep.
Did you see one of the tortoises?
I saw them. I'll show you pictures when we do that. So this is